Hello everyone, I'm coming to you live from Bali here. This week we have episode 2 with Tyler. In this episode we dive deeper into sales as a vehicle for personal development. When you start to see things even in business as a game, as something that is a vehicle for the growth of your soul, I want to ask you how that perspective changes the way that you engage in things that maybe you had a different perception of before. So enjoy this episode and I'd love to hear from you as always. Yeah, maybe we can dive a bit more into sales because I think obviously you have a course and there's a lot of depth to be had in this topic, but for someone who hasn't explored sales, A, why is it important? And B, like, where to start?
I think it's important because you're learning communication and people skills and emotional intelligence, and every business is the people business. Even if you don't really believe that you're in sales every single day. Like if you want to watch a movie with your family, you have to sell them on why they should watch that movie. Like in everything, Grant Cardone has a book, Sell or Be Sold. You're either selling or being sold to in everything. So understanding that sales is in everything and being able to effectively communicate can drastically change your life. You know, somebody could have the best idea in the world, but if they can't communicate it properly, no one's going to listen. It's going nowhere. Being able to communicate is one of the fastest ways, the quickest ways to change your environment, to change your entire world. So it's done everything for me, and also being able to tap into conviction and confidence, you know, because with sales, we're doing reps, we're training on how to like get into that state and have belief in ourselves first so we can sell effectively. And I think having confidence and belief in yourself will never be a bad thing. I think it's always a net positive for sure. So
Yeah.
with a place to start, I would say just watch YouTube videos, but like don't absorb everything, you know, because like how Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, how he sells is distinct to him. How Andy Elliott sells is his style. Brad Lee, Grant Cardone, Daniel G. Like all these sales videos are great, but you don't have to take things word for word. Like at first it helps to mimic other people, to learn the process for you. But eventually your sales process should be unique to you and your personality. Like I sell how I'm talking to you now. Just like a genuine conversation, super like I'm really listening to the prospect, really, really diving deep into their emotion and what it means to them, and like making intuitive downloads based off what they're giving me and like asking follow-up questions based off of that. So I would just watch videos, take it in. Our training does that. Like it teaches beginner sales, but there's so many different programs, mentors out there. Find somebody you resonate with and just start, you know, like practice having a sales call, sales conversation with a family member or a friend. Yeah, it will change your life.
Yeah, I think it's such a powerful skill to have, as you say, for anything. And I think any resistance that comes up for you, maybe even this conversation is triggering you in some way. Because I used to get so triggered by sales in general. And I think just use that as a mirror and a reflection to know where you're at with it and know that, like, that's a useful thing. Because that means that you can become aware of what your blocks are. Is it that you're thinking about being scammed, or are you thinking about how the thought of talking to someone about something is so scary to you, and that like anything can be healed? And this is part of a healing journey. Learning sales is a healing journey.
For sure. It's so much of the work we do inside the program is giving people confidence to even show up and do the drills and do the role plays and like stick through it. And everybody sucks at something at first. You know, like when you show up to a martial arts class, that first day you're gonna get whooped a little bit. Like you're gonna get beat down a little bit. It's not gonna be so tremendous. Like they have empathy at first, so they're not gonna like really give you the full showcase, but you're gonna feel like you suck at it. But allowing yourself to suck at something enough times so you actually become good at it. Because everybody starts with 0 followers. Everybody starts at white belt when they're getting into jiu-jitsu. It's focused intention, deliberate action, which brings us back again to Kaizen, which is why I love Kaizen so much, because it's really just small improvements every day. Like there's no such thing as an overnight success. Like Michael Phelps, Gary Vee, LeBron James, all the greats, they were doing this for years and years and years and sucked over and over and over again until they became proficient. So it's
Yeah,
really just that. It's like repetition.
I know. And this has been such a powerful learning for me personally. Like, we create so many barriers and like think that things aren't going to happen if they're not happening at the speed we want them to, but actually just learning like there's so much beauty in the journey, and that again, yeah, it's just about one step at a time. It sounds simple, but it's easier said than done, right?
Yeah, for sure. Kaizen is not like just patience and like a cope for not taking action. You know, we should be putting in the work every single day and maxing out our days and like really feeling like we're making progress. It's taking full action, like showing up every single day on the training calls, putting in the work, having the diet, the routine, doing all these things, like taking action like you need success tomorrow, but understanding it won't come tomorrow.
Mm. Yeah, and I also wanted to comment on something there as well, is that it is a lot about balance. And also, someone in our community said something really powerful. Understand what your like minimum is and what your maximum and what your like medium baseline is. Because I think, especially with the feminine, especially with our cycles, knowing that actions don't always have to mean like intense actions. It's just about taking that inspired action that's in alignment and not always pushing yourself past a breaking point when your body's not feeling it.
Sometimes the most productive thing you could do is take a break. It's incredible how God and the universe works, because sometimes I'll be off my phone for that day where I take a rest and my business moves by itself. Like people start texting me out of nowhere and like people are like, hey, like I want to join. Like I'm finally ready to go. Let's go. And it's when I'm not focused on business that things move. And it's also similar in the gym. Our muscles grow when we take a rest. Our muscles aren't growing when we're doing the bicep curls. We're facilitating that process. We're starting it, but they really grow when you're resting in a rest state and allowing things to take place. You're like, all right, I did my part. Now let's let things move. Let God be God. Essentially, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and I think there's action in inaction. And as you say, it's about like realizing that. So, from personal experience, like, how do you know when it's time to rest, and how do you know when you need to push past that resistance and push past not wanting to do something and doing it anyway?
There's no like one size fits all. It's really
Yeah.
listening to your body and understanding your seasons. If you could become like a scientist on your life,
Or the CEO.
CEO.
And it is always about trial and error, learning about yourself. Like, self-awareness is everything. And I think there is more of a movement now to learning that like it's not actually how hard you work, it's how smart you work.
100%. And focusing on the most highest leverage activities, so for me, that's also something I'm working on as well. So like along with leadership, what kind of goes in that box is working on the highest leverage activities for me. Like what's really going to move the needle, because we might look at our day and there's so many different things to do and so many different options and so many places to put your focus and energy, but being able to have discernment and what's really going to move the needle for you. Like what's the most important task for you to do, and seeing if you delegate out other things that like other people could do effectively, that you don't need to focus your energy on it. So being able to focus on the highest leverage activities for you and go full force with that is tremendous. There's so many distractions now.
Yeah, and that also comes down to self-awareness, because it's like, what am I good at? Where's my highest contribution going to be? And mastering your own energy to know, like, this is where my energy is going to serve with the most return on investment, and this is where I need to delegate. And also that takes courage in itself, because every time you step up, every time you let go of something in terms of like delegating, hiring, all these things, that again is like a whole new stepping into the arena in so
Yeah.
many ways. And so it's about just like having the courage to always listen to when it's time to step up.
A lot of times people are more aligned to a 9 to 5 than stepping into like a life of an entrepreneur, because
Mhm.
when you have a 9 to 5 and you have a boss, somebody's giving you direction. Somebody's telling you like, hey, at this hour you do this, at this hour you do that. A lot of people need that structure. Like a lot of people do. When you're an entrepreneur, like creating your own things, you have to create that structure for you and be disciplined enough to follow it and like figure out what's most important and like stay consistent with it, even when the results aren't really showing, you know? So
Yeah.
it's not the path for everybody, for sure. I think it's very rewarding and fulfilling to create a life on your terms and do something like that really moves you and actually helping other people. Not that you can't help people with the 9 to 5, but doing it on your terms is special. But it takes a special individual to dive into that. And I think a lot of people inherently know they're meant for more and inherently want that, but it's understanding the reality of what it takes to make it a possibility.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a glamorization of like living by the beach, working remote, like just like being an influencer or whatever you're doing. And yeah, everything has its pros and cons. And that's why I say it's like, how willing are you to have the life of your dreams? How dedicated and committed are you to serving? Because there's going to be challenges, there's going to be times where you don't feel like doing anything. And that takes self-awareness, as we said, about learning when is time, when isn't. But yeah, it takes discipline, and some people prefer safety and structure, and that's okay. It's all welcome. It's all part of our experience.
Yeah. I try to be super transparent about that process of I don't want to like glamorize the laptop lifestyle, quote unquote, because most of my days are here sitting in front of this laptop and working. You know, I might have a great view, like I'll take my laptop to the beach, but while I'm at the beach, I'm working, I'm taking action, I'm moving things along and having different conversations. So a lot of times people glamorize it for sure, like you said, and like make it seem too good to be true. You know, like I want to be very transparent. It does take work, it does take energy. It's not all going to come at once, but it's never been easier to live that lifestyle, you know, to live by the beach, to work on your laptop. All the tools are here. Like if your ancestors saw that you have the tools and access that you have now, they would have been blown away that you could access any document, any written piece of literature, anything ever in existence at your fingertips in like 10 seconds. Like we have so many tools, we take it for granted a lot of times, but like when you really have that in perspective, it changes things. You know, like
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of the time we talk about like the negative parts of social media, of all these things, and how it affects our attention span and all these things. And I think it's true, but also let's harness what's positive about it. Let's use it to connect with people around the world and like really access everything we can access and learn, educate, do all these things that you can do. It's amazing.
yeah. I personally I think it has a net positive for sure on society, on people, and it's just a tool. And I consider it as like the great equalizer. Like you could post content and reach out to anybody on the internet and like get a business meeting or like create a friend, like a true genuine connection can be made just through this here. And then it creates in-person connections and relationships, and you can create an empire through your phone if you use it as such, or you can distract yourself, or you can numb yourself and watch meme videos and like reels and TikTok just over and over and over again. You get to decide.
Yeah, and I think I had this realization that like it's like in life, either you're creating or you're consuming, either you're buying or you're selling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Social media and like the digital world is just like an amplification of the outside world. So like, yeah, maybe like the body dysmorphia issues are amplified in there, and like everything is a lot more intense in there, but also like as you say, it's like it's an amplification of the good too.
Yeah, they say that about money, right? Like money isn't inherently bad. Money is only an amplifier of what you already are. If a good person has money, they're able to do so much more good in the world. If somebody's bad, they're going to use it for harm and
Yeah.
bad in the world. It's the same thing with ayahuasca. Like
Yeah.
ayahuasca, I believe, is not inherently bad or good. It's just amplifying what's already inside you. What's already in here, it just amplified to the 10th degree. It's the same with social media. Like if you're a good person and want to make connections and relationships, you could use that as such. If you want to like bring people down and like type like mean comments, you could do that as well.
Yeah. And that's how powerful we are. Our intention is what creates what that neutral thing becomes. And so
Yeah.
you get to decide. And that doesn't mean the bad stuff won't exist. It's just you get to choose what you focus on. As with anything, there's just so many mirrors and layers to everything that goes on. It's amazing.
You know, it's the matrix, red pill or blue pill. You decide. You get to pick. I think Albert Einstein has that quote where it's like, um, either you think the world is conspiring against you or the world is conspiring for you. And because of that decision and like that belief, your life will flow in that way. Like everything
Mm.
changes based off that. So you get to dictate your life. You get to pick what mindset mentality you have with the tools, because we all pretty much have access to equal tools, right? Like
Yeah.
most of us have access to the internet. Some are more well off than others, but for the most part, we all have a level playing field to get started.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like that quote too, whether you think you can or not, you're right. So yeah, and that's the thing, like you always have the opportunity to have that blank slate and restart and reinvent, no matter where you are in anything, in any part of your life. And I want to just speak more about your experiences with plant medicine because I think a lot of people don't understand a lot about it. And maybe you want to go into a specific journey or a specific moment that changed your life from it. I just really feel cool to ask you that.
Yeah. A lot of people look at it as drugs. In a way, it can be considered drugs for sure, but for me it's more than that. It's medicine. It's a tool to heal ourselves and tap into different states of consciousness to tap into subtle layers of our being. And with ayahuasca specifically, you're taken into a deep journey of your mind, of your body, of your subconscious, like all these beliefs and thought patterns and mindset and feelings, like you're feeling all of it and it's all coming to the surface. It's like a mirror, like you're looking at yourself directly, like true and true. And for me, when I was on ayahuasca, one time specifically, I was purging, you know, so with ayahuasca, it's very common to like to throw up, to purge and like release certain things. And when I was doing that, I was releasing things that weren't even mine, but like from my DNA, from my past relatives and my ancestors, of like their negative thought patterns and their trauma and their pain, all these different voices. Like as I was purging, like so many things were going on, and it wasn't necessarily mine, but it was baggage, emotional baggage I was holding on to. And after those experiences, I feel lighter. I feel cleansed. I feel renewed, refreshed. And like I just had a wash for my body, like internally. Like my brain was washed and cleansed. And I'm like at a new playing field, you know?
Yeah.
So when it's done in a sacred way, in an intentional way, it's a tool for growth. I think they say one night of ayahuasca or mushrooms is like 10 years of psychotherapy.
Yeah, and I think this is why I wanted to bring it up because you can just see the way Tyler's like he's focused, he's got so much knowledge, but a lot of the battle is just actually unlearning a lot of things because that's what's like in your way of like fully committing, fully believing about what's possible for you. And so it's such a powerful tool for that. And so much of the journey is that unlearning. And that's not an easy road to go down, but it's so worth it because, as we said, you get to decide. And sometimes the way our realities are playing out, it's not even the way we want to, but it's because of ancestral things that we're carrying. There's so much depth to the amount that we're carrying within us.
Yeah. Embracing it, being thankful for it, but like it's pretty undeniable, in my eyes, that things get passed down from generation to generation, so trauma, thought patterns, like traditions, rituals, like all these things are passed down. Not that it's good or bad, but like acknowledging on if it serves you now. Like the example we gave with feeling a certain way about putting yourself out there. Because back in the caveman days, you would have been stoned. People didn't like what you said. That's not really going to serve us nowadays. So like letting go of that, even though it's been passed down to us, like being able to look at it and be like, okay, this thought pattern, this belief doesn't serve me. Let's work on transmuting it. You don't have to let go of it, but like reframe it into a different thing of like, hey, like I'm going to use this energy to fuel me, to be excited about putting myself out there because I could impact one life, like one person. That's incredible. Like somebody could hear me speak. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think maybe I framed it a bit negatively, but like, yeah, it's actually a gift to get to break those ancestral things we carry, and anything can be reframed because we live in a world of polarity. So if you're listening to this, ask yourself, like, what can I reframe in order to be able to see all that's possible for me?
100%.
Yeah. All right. So if people want to get a hold of you, obviously you've said your Instagram, I'll do obviously a bio, but is there any other things you want to share about your offerings? Any last bits of wisdom that are wanting to come through? Just wanted to give you space for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'd say Instagram is probably the best place to connect. I also have a YouTube channel, but I'm not super active there. So Instagram at Kaizen with Tyler. Shoot me a DM. Let's connect. Like it doesn't have to be sales related. Like I'm down to chop it up about plant medicines or like your healing journey or stepping into your best self. I'm not gonna like hard sell you my program or anything. We do have that program and community that's definitely expanding into some really cool endeavors and different things. Creator Closing 2.0. So if you feel the call to be involved, you could book a call, see if it's a good fit for you. But yeah, I would just invite anybody to continue the conversation with us. Like reach out to Talia, reach out to myself, and there's so much support, and you have not because you ask not. Like just reach out, just ask a question. Be like, hey, I want to connect. You never know where it could take you.
I think sometimes it feels so scary to even send someone a message. I used to be like that, and I'm just messaging anyone. I'm like, hey, like that's the thing. Once you do something, as you say, the reps, once you like go out your comfort zone, that fear dies there because you've done it. And so, yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We're stronger together for anything that we want to achieve, or even just connection, as we were saying before, is a beautiful thing. So we'd love to hear from you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And thanks for being here, Tyler.
Of course. Thank you.